Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. I'd like to reconvene this Santa Rita Union School Board District meeting back at 6:09. During closed session, the board voted to release probationary classified employee number 160584, and the vote was 3-0. Okay, next we have approval of consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve items 5.2 to 5.4?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
A roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel. Ms. Alvariano.
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner.
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, moving on to reports, information, and correspondence. 6.1. Do we have any comments from SRTA? Okay. And how about from CSEA?
Good evening. Our classified staff has been working diligently translating for teachers during parent-teacher conferences. Santa Rita and New Republic Library Mediatheques are hosting the book fair. Thank you to Martha and Trish for all their hard work setting this up. CSEA met with Becky last week and would like to thank her for taking the time to listen to our members' questions and concerns. Juana Casillas, CSEA Chapter 503 President.
Okay, thank you, Juana. Appreciate that. Moving on to 6.3, Superintendent's Cabinet. We'll start off with Mr. Victor Sandoval, Director of MOT. I'm sorry. Moving on to Director of Nutritional Services, Mr. Chuck Helm.
I couldn't hear anything. All right. So not a ton for me right now. I'll save for my two agenda items, but I did want to give a quick update on something that came up today. I reached out to Graves Elementary School or Graves School. Spoke with the admin assistant. She said she's going to pass on my message to the superintendent. And basically what I said was that, let's start the conversation again. I know there's going to be some challenges in providing meals for them. One of them being whether or not they can get cleared by the health department. That's a big thing for us. We need to have a health permit on site. So if they can make that happen, then that'll be a long way in getting it done again. So although there are going to be the challenges, it's worth the conversation. So I'm just going to be standing by and waiting for that call from the superintendent. And the other two items I have are on the agenda. So that's all from me.
Okay, when was the last time that we delivered meals to them, or have we ever?
Yes, we have. I want to say it was 15, 16, maybe the first year I was here.
Okay, and then recently, was it that we stopped, or?
That was the last.
Oh, that was the last year.
I believe that was the last year. Yeah. And it was due to that issue. It was, they're very small. They don't have the means, like no kitchen or no way to keep the food warm. If they have to hold it, if they need something, held for the next day, cold, they don't have the refrigeration. So that's going to be the biggest hurdle, I think. So, but it's worth the conversation. As soon as they reach out, then we'll start that and see where it goes.
Yeah, no, and thank you for reaching out to them. I know because they're a smaller district, I've heard a lot of concerns within that district. So anything we can do, even if they're not part of a district, to help them out. I mean, those kids and stuff. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Just to thank you for following up and doing all the work. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Chief Business Officer, Ms. Rosa Zamudio.
Good evening. I'm still here in the office, actually, next to you guys. I'm still working on closing the books. These last 2 weeks have been very intensive. Just trying to finalize everything. Just a reminder, we are working with actual systems, so we're doing a lot of journal entries. And one of the challenges that we have is that we have more grants than ever before. I think with the ongoing grants that we currently had before, we have about 45. So it is taking longer than usual. One of the challenges as well that we're having is trying to follow the accounting principles and trying to follow as well what the guidance from the state that sometimes they don't match necessarily. So I know in the past, the TRC page, it's usually clean. We might have some this year as we are trying to follow both the accounting principles and as well the state, and sometimes they just don't match. So that's one of the challenges. Other than that, just really focus on that. I have a few items for you coming up in the agenda, and I'll follow up on that next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, thank you for the update. Education and Student Services, Ms. Melanie Grundy.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. I sat down here initially. I was like, I don't have anything to report. And then I've written a page. It's just been such a whirlwind lately. I have the SPED department, including myself, my coordinator, as well as our new special education TOSA, teacher on special assignment, attending training all week this week, doing IEP facilitation and how to better engage families in the IEP process. So it's been very informative, put on through the county office. So we're with a lot of our sister districts, learning together, collaborating. Been able to visit classrooms. So I've been able to put our team on a rotation. So we're getting into SPED classrooms almost on a daily basis. So it's just been nice to see our teams in action. Yeah, so it's been good, and just visiting students. We're still hiring. So we're hiring para-professionals, BTs. We have one open special ed position, an RSP resource position at one of our middle schools. So still trying to fill that. What I can say is we're really well staffed with other teaching positions, as well as occupational therapy and speech is fully staffed, and we're the one vacancy. Okay. Let's see. We're working on classified PD. I've been working collaboratively with Summer. We're working on bringing in CPR and offering that on October 10th, as well as a couple other PDs. We have 2 safety care training opportunities. So one on 2 work days, so teachers can utilize the super subs, and we can train the last of our teachers, as well as certain paras that haven't been trained yet. And then we also have a special training where we're pulling in transportation, which will be scheduled around their bus and van routes. We're also working collaboratively on a scope and sequence for all of our SPED PLCs for this year. So really seeking teacher input and really wanting to bring more data in and have that be more data driven, and really building on our teacher leaders to drive those. So that's it for me.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you for the update. Moving on to Director of Parent and Family and Community Engagement, Dr. Summer Prather-Smith.
Good evening, everybody. As usual, I have things to hand you. This one, I have 2 copies. This month, September is Suicide Prevention Month. So Melanie and I were able to have a collaborative with our social workers, looking at suicide prevention and what they'll be doing this month around suicide prevention, and then provided everybody with a copy of this book. We have 2 additional extra copies if anybody would like them. Those are available to you. And again, just remember to check in on your loved ones this month, especially this time, as we come back from the pandemic. With that, I'll hand all these down together so you can get them at the end. I'd really like to acknowledge Miss Chelsea Emery, who's our teacher leading our ATS, our Alternative to Suspension class. She's been doing amazing work both within the classroom during the time that students are there, but also really getting out and supporting our sites on the days that we don't have students present. She's going in doing restorative circles for classrooms, modeling for our restorative practice leads, leading students through peer mediation, supporting teachers with behavior planning. So she's been doing an amazing job. Her and her paraprofessional have gone above and beyond for sure. And one of the things that she did is put together a little flyer for us to send out to our staff. There's also a parent one. You'll see there's a staff. They look very similar. We're not sending it out district-wide to parents, but we are making sure that when students are referred to the Alternative to Suspension program, that's part of it. One of our biggest challenges with students has been FaceTiming Analia asking me on accident. Sorry, Analia. One of our biggest challenges has been around transportation and parents' ability to transport, and so we're working to solve that problem as well currently. So I'll give that to you. Next, we have Donna and I have been able to collaborate on the October 10th PD Day to make sure that we're really focusing on all of our initiatives. For my part, we're going to be bringing Dr. Dominique Smith, the author of Restorative Practices Playbook, in person with us. And we'll be holding that at the Steinbeck Center so that staff have a comfortable place to learn and engage in that process. And so Dr. Smith will be doing 2 sessions, a morning session with our middle school teachers. We know that they look very different, elementary and middle. So he'll be doing a morning session with our middle school and then an afternoon session with our elementaries. And then they'll have some time back at their site. And Donna can share a little bit about that part, working with PLCs, but also completing their mandatory trainings, cognito around suicide prevention, emotional and mental wellness, as well as some of those keen-in trainings there as well. So I'll share that flyer with you if anybody's interested in stopping by. And then last but not least, we have our final schedule for our community cultural arts and enrichment program. I was able to meet with Javier literally moments before we got here and finalize that. So this includes our dance schedule as well as another mural project that we'll be working on with our middle school. So this is the schedule for that. The start date is by October 1st, but they're confirming with all of his instructors. And so I'll get you the official start date, but you'll have the schedule if you ever want to stop by. Thank you.
Any questions and comments from the board? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Donna Coney.
Good evening. I want to shout out to our IT specialists. They were signed up to do a fiber optic training in July that we presented to you. It was delayed. They are there now. And this week we've had a few delays in our Wi-Fi and some connectivity issues. They've been remotely assisting Krisha, troubleshooting things to keep everything on their tidy and neat and get things moving more smoothly. So we want to shout out to those guys and Krisha for that delay in the Wi-Fi has been really slow. So, but they keep everybody going in the internet world. Sites have been working on their SIPSAs and their school report cards and signing up with me if they need support in those developments. LCAP meeting will be, the Parent Advisory LCAP meeting will be this Tuesday, and we'll be sending out the link for that Zoom meeting. And excited to share out that Mr. Alberto Ramirez will be joining me in the translation of that. And that's always fun to do that with him every year and making it more energized. VLP, our VLP program, I went and met with them for a couple hours yesterday and participated in supporting them in some of their parent conferences. They're doing a great job as we're transitioning with that lower class size down to 1 teacher, building that kindergarten class that McKenna needed. So I'm really proud of the VLP program as their transition has taken place. This last late August, we had our first curriculum council meeting. Thank you, Sarah, for attending. It was very energized regarding the math and kind of a pre-pilot math opportunities that we'll be doing for a full pilot next year. And we have an upcoming curriculum council meeting in the next coming weeks. iReady data chats this are going on with our site principals. So iReady comes and they're actually physically coming to the site and sitting down with the site principals, their TOSAs, and other key essential people looking at specifically at the site's data. And then I'll be having a district-wide data chat with them and then presenting that material to you in the coming upcoming board meetings. Melissa and Becky and Summer and I and Melanie, we're all doing site visits as much as we can, getting our boots on the ground and visiting classrooms and supporting teachers, checking in on new teachers. We're sending our Tech TOSA Karen Yoder to sites to also check on our new teachers and making sure that they are getting all the IT support and training that they need, as well as our new teachers will be starting in September their new teacher monthly PD that they'll be receiving from Prisha and Karen Yoder. The again on October 10th, we'll be doing our kind of a 2-part show with restorative practices, and then the sites will be doing their cognito and PLC meetings where the elementary schools will be focusing on their essential standards and the middle school subject levels will be meeting with their PLCs and their essential standards. And other than that, I think really proud of our teams, and it's really exciting to see the athletics and the activities and the field trips taking place. Both middle schools have now done their beach field trip, and some of those traditions have started and gone successfully.
I had a question. You mentioned what data was going to be presented?
Oh, the iReady data chats. When I do the dashboard and things, I'll be doing a presentation for you probably next month on the dashboard and also the benchmark results, just the snapshot of how the first benchmark did in reflection to that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Moving on to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource, Ms. Becky Moore.
Thank you. I have been busy working on our assignment monitoring for the 21-22 school year, and making sure that we get all of our exceptions cleared up. Also, last week, Melissa and I met with SRTA leadership, President, Vice President, just as a routine check-in. And as Juana shared, I met with the EERC for CSEA last week as well. And I was poking Melanie when she said our SLP positions are filled because we have some contracted services helping out, but still trying to post and recruit our own SLPs. And with that in mind, we just confirmed our participation at the ASHA convention for speech therapists. Because we've had some vacancies in speech for some time, we decided it's really time to approach it at the national level. So we will be doing that in November to try and get our district's name out there with SLPs. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Okay. Okay, moving on to the board and the superintendent. We'll start off with Mr. Neil Patel.
Thank you. Mic check. Oh, yes.
No, I don't think it's. You want to borrow Elvis? You want
Mic check one. Mic check one.
There we go.
Thank you. I have some concerns. I just thought I'd share with you guys. I visited various sites. I've talked to some teachers, and I don't need to wait for iReady to understand that we are far behind in reading and math levels. Based on what I've seen in my classroom and the high school levels, talking to other teachers, we are far behind. We really need to start thinking about what are we going to do to recoup the learning loss that I'm sure the iReady is going to come out with. I would hope the board would entertain discussions regarding, what can we do inside of the classroom day in terms of remedial work, making sure students are getting up to their appropriate reading levels based on their grades, as well as math. I would like to explore additional ways where we can have more time for our students to bring up their reading levels and math levels, whether it be after school or in some type of intersessions during winter or spring, whatever it takes. I am very concerned that this is just not a local problem. Obviously, it's a nationwide problem. But I don't care about the nation. I care about this district. And, these are our students for multiple years. And ultimately, if it's going to take us 2-3 years to catch up and then move forward, then so be it. But I want to make sure we have a systematic implementation of additional remediation for our students and the opportunity after school, whenever it may be, to catch up. When I hear that 5th grade students are learning at a 2nd grade, they're performing at 2nd grade level, it's very concerning. Now, in most years, I would understand maybe a 1 year or 2 year behind. But based on what I'm seeing at the high school level, I'm seeing, 4 or 5 years behind, because already there were 2 to 3 years behind in normal years. And so I think we have a great opportunity that as a smaller district that maybe we can create support programs so we can help our kids catch up. Ultimately it's our responsibility. So if it takes pausing certain aspects of curriculum in order for the students to catch up, so be it. I'd love to entertain this discussion with the rest of the board members, but at this point, I'm very, very concerned. Here we are in September, and I think we probably should have known ahead of time that we have to implement new programs, new opportunities, so our students can have the ability to catch up. National data shows we've lost 20 years of growth. Locally, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, something similar, if not worse, considering our population base, especially our English language learners. So I would like to see further implementation of increased reading programs, increased math remediation programs on a daily basis, after school programs, summer programs, or whatever it may be. But I am very, very concerned about that. So having said that, you know, I'm glad other aspects are moving forward with the kitchen, with staff, and you know, other issues. But bottom line is we're in it for the education. And as a district, if we have to create new alternatives, new programs, new pathways, and so be it. We need to be creative. You know, at this point, we need to look outside of the box and see what else can we do. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk more in future agenda items as well. Ms. El Arellano?
Hi, I have nothing to report other than I'm just until we resume back to the behavior task force. But I haven't, this early of the date, I haven't gone to any meetings but I'm looking forward to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sarah Turner?
Thank you. As Ms. Koenig mentioned, I attended Curriculum Council. I was really appreciating all the people giving their time, and there was a lot of enthusiasm. As the public knows, the Santa Rita Union School District has a bond measure on the November election, Measure R. I have done so many things for Measure R that I don't know my own name or what date it is anymore, but to anyone watching this, I may be calling you soon. So, and thank you to all of the people who have committed to helping Santa Rita School District. It is greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you. For myself, I attended a city council meeting where they were talking about a little bit about housing. You know, we have our potential litigation in there. So always try to attend those meetings to make sure something is said, we know. I did speak to teachers at other districts. And I also spoke to teachers at our district. And one thing I do appreciate about our district staff is more of the open relationship we have. One thing I hear very often, even within districts in our city, is how teachers will come forward and nobody hears them out. And at the very least, our district will talk to them, hear them out, and try to collaborate and work something out. So I do appreciate that about our district. And that's about it. And Superintendent Alderman?
Thank you. Is my mic on? Yes, hear that?
Yeah.
Thanks. Teamwork makes the dream work. So we've got a couple things going. We'll be sending out an informational piece for our families, our community about the projects that the district has going on that Measure R can potentially help with. Just to get the information out there, frequently asked questions. So like, what is it? What would it fund? So that our community knows why we went forward with that. So we'll be getting that information out to our families this week and post it on our website just so it's easy to access for that. I wanted to let you know that our contracted bus drivers should be starting with us next week from Michael's Transportation, which should help with some of our issues that we've had in recent days. As people are still, they need to go out with COVID, different things like that, and it creates a shortage for us and having to redo routes in a hurry. So that's a bit of good news for us. We are also looking, as Summer mentioned, getting an additional van to support the district. Unfortunately, it's been discovered that Amazon has bought all of the Ford vans for their prime deliveries for the next 2 years. So we may be getting a Dodge instead for the newest van. I checked, they don't deliver students, so it's on us, and I think we're going to get a Dodge. I will be resending the trustee bio worksheet so that we can get those, your trustee member biographies for a website update, and we're reaching out to Life Touch in case anyone would like a fresh photo. And then one last thing, letting you know where we're at in our site safety review process with Kimball and Associates. They worked this week visiting sites, wanting to explain they visit during the daytime and after dark to look at lighting and things like that. So it's a really comprehensive site-based assessment of safety, access points, all of those things that this team as experts in that field recognize, and they'll give us a comprehensive report for each site as well as district office, MOT central kitchen. So they're reviewing each of our workspaces, and so they come out during the daytime, they come in the evening, they talk to key staff members, get input, and review that in comparison with like our safety plans, and they'll make some comprehensive recommendations, and we'll bring that information forward to you. They're about halfway done. They started this week, and they're spending multiple days at each site as they go through for the review.
Okay. You go first.
Just a quick question. I appreciate the fact that we're informing our constituents regarding the needs at each site. Last time I was here, we met with some advisors. Did we get clarification on the the district expending district funds for informational campaign regarding presenting fact-based information in various media forms?
So the district is not allowed to expense any funds on anything related to campaigning for votes for the bond. We are allowed to disseminate information, just the factual information, and put that out there. Any campaign activity or advertisements would need to come from that group.
I would, once again, I would like clarification from legal. If institutional governments can do it, then why can't we? I would like to know specifically where in the law it says that we cannot expend money from our district funds to provide informational items, not indicating one way or the other, voting for it. But I distinctly remember City of Salinas creating a mailing campaign, mail campaign, a television commercial campaign, informing the public of what would happen if the funds were not generated, what we would lose, what we would gain if we did. I would like to pursue that information.
Okay. I think we.
The information that's going out next week already went through legal.
Once again, I would like clarification. How is it that the city government was able to present information in a television format, in a mail format, mailing format, as well as social media format? I'm not saying to ask for or against. I'm just saying presenting information about what the funds would be used for, what would happen if we didn't get the funds, etc.
Do you know? Because I did research that a little bit, but I wasn't enough to look at. I think they also set up their own committee, as well, independent of the city. But you're saying like
No, there was a lawsuit against the city when they did that because they used city funds, and he went to state court, and the state court said no, since it was purely informational and not pro or against, the city was allowed to use those funds.
Okay, and I think they are able to present informational items. I think that's what we got from legal is informational. I guess my question is, you're kind of saying like, what'll happen if we don't get the funds?
No, what I'm saying is, why are we not pursuing the similar advertisement campaign to inform our public, such as television, mass media, newspaper advertisements, media advertisements?
We do have a separate component. I guess what we can look into the district, because we do have a separate component through a committee that's being formed that is taking. But you're saying looking at it from the district.
Once again, I don't think I'm making myself clear on this. The city of Salinas created an informational campaign that went out to every resident in various forms. The city was sued saying, hey, you guys are being pro advancing this program. It went to state court, and the state court came back, said no. Since it did not say, hey, you must vote for it, or we're saying you should vote for it. What it said was clearly presented the information, and that was it. And for that reason, the city was allowed to expend city funds. And I would hope to do the same with our district funds.
Okay, got it. So I guess part of what he's asking is if it's possible to use district funds to do media as far as like commercials or anything else and then kind of seeing what the cost would potentially be. I think maybe if we can get more of an opinion from legal first, and then we can kind of see. Yeah.
And also, I would like to get clarification, and I want them to correlate that with what the city did. I really don't care if the attorneys tell us one thing. I wanted them to compare it with the city and tell us why we can't.
Yeah. And I think probably what might happen, because I think they might just say, I don't recommend, and it's up to us whether we want to take the risk or not, right? Usually that's the way whenever it's, they're going to say you can't do it because all they can do is give us legal counsel, and then we make it a decision as a board to move forward, right? It's kind of what you're asking. So they probably wouldn't tell us you can't do something. They said, this is why we wouldn't recommend, and we would decide as a board what the risk factors are. Right. Okay. I lost my train of thought.
I apologize, Jacob.
We're moving on to 7.1.
No, there was something else I wanted to mention. Okay, no, I remember now. You were mentioning that, I guess, for the name of the company that's doing the risk assessment. I know they're halfway done. I spoke to some teachers at a family gathering, and they went through that company, and they said that they created an awesome plan, but what happened is the district didn't actually implement the stuff. One of the things that they mentioned was a big concern for that district, was they mentioned teachers having access to gates. And I guess in that plan, they mentioned more, either you need to change the gates or the locks to have either barcodes or keys or whatever the case is. And in that district, all they did was say, okay, well, we're only going to give 3 keys to those 3 people. And the concern was, what if something happens, only 3 keys, as opposed to teachers in a certain portable location would also have access to those gates and stuff. So it's just something that she said, just make sure you say it out loud and you mention it, because sometimes beautiful plans are created, but if we're not implementing them, there's also that, are putting our teachers at risk and stuff. So,
I was just going to add that part of what they'll do in this report that's different. This risk assessment is a new process. It's an outside risk assessor who's coming in, or threat assessor. Part of what they do is prioritize. They realize that any district's not going to be able to do everything that's within the report in any rapid succession, and so part of the benefit of what they'll give us is prioritizing those. What's at the top, and what are those that we can work into our modernization plans and into the other aspects of what we're doing, and then again going through that and kind of being able to tell us what's involved if we don't do this, or how we could mitigate that in another way if we're unable to make those changes. So I really appreciated the realisticness of what's there, looking at safety, but also looking that we're public entities in which people have access, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our schools safe, but that we're also not denying staff or parents a means of accessing what's there and what we're offering. So,
and then once that report is finalized, it'll get presented to us, and then kind of where recommendations are and stuff. Okay, perfect. Cool. See, I remember. Okay, moving on to 7.1, public comment regarding non-agenda items. Do we have any public comments? Okay. 7.2, public comments regarding agenda items. Moving on to 8.1, approval of intergacy agreement with Lagunita Elementary for meals for school year 2022 to 2023.
Our nutrition services department. So this is very similar to the interagency agreement we have with the special education sites with MCOE. Daniel Stonebloom, the superintendent at Lagunita, reached out and wanted, similar to Graves, we used to service them. He reached out and said, can you guys start again? So we're still working out the kinks, but I wanted to get this interagency agreement in place, so we can move forward. So that's just the approval of the agreement.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve?
So motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and moving on to 8.2, approval of a 1-year agreement with FIG K-12 for professional development and training. It's Mr. Chuckelm as well.
Yeah, this is also our department, and it's specific training and professional development for nutrition services staff. It's a 1-year agreement. So if at the end of that 1 year, we feel like we don't want to move forward, we don't have to, we're not obligated to. It'll give our department staff, they can work through the training and the PD at their leisure, or we can set goals for them when it needs to be done and so forth. They'll track all the training, which will take care of the USDA requirements of tracking professional development for nutrition services. So I'm really excited about this. Can't wait to get started and bring it to our staff.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
The cost seemed very reasonable with that motion to approve.
The second, please.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner. Aye. Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, item 8.3, approval of AB 1200, public disclosure for classified management.
That is my item. This was supposed to be in the last board meeting, but we put it on hold. It is now at the county for review. It includes the one-time bonus payment that was approved on the last board meeting. It is included everything here for this unit. It includes the 5% salary increase, 2 employee reclassification, and creating a consistent increase between each of the steps for 4.5.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, item 8.4, approval of AB 1200, public disclosure for certificated management.
So this is mine as well. It's pretty similar as well. It includes the one-time payment that everyone got. It includes the 5% salary increase, 10-day additional to assistant principals, adding 15 days to SPED ed coordinator, and reclassification for middle school assistant principals, also including a consistent salary increase across the board for 4.5 between each step ranges. And it's also for review right now at MCOE.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, 8.5, information. It's a letter of approval for AB 1200 for the public disclosure for classified confidentials. It's an informational item.
Yes, so that's just informational. This is the approval letter for Monterey County. This is from the last AB 1200 on the last board meeting. This was for classified confidential, and it's just informational saying that it was approved by the county.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? No, okay, thank you. Okay, 8.6, approval of board resolution for fund transfers.
Yes, those two are mine as well. As we are closing the books, this is a requirement per ed code. So every time we do a cash fund transfer, we need to bring a resolution to the board for approval before we actually move the cash to the other fund. This was part of my last 2 to 3 budget reports. So it's moving cash from the general fund from $1.5 million to Fund 35. As there were change orders for the kitchen project. And then the other transfer is 150,000 from the general fund to Fund 40. This was to finalize the purchases for La Jolla portables. And like I said, this is actually moving the cash. It was already presented to you on my budgets, and it's just approving those resolutions.
Okay, so just for the public, we already approved the funds, but it has to get paid out of a different account is the reason for the transfer. Yes.
Right, yes, yes.
Okay. All right, can I get a motion to approve? And then I don't know if we can close those blinds. Yeah,
We just sent
okay. Okay, can I get a motion? to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. 8.7, approval of 1-year agreement with Eddie Bailey for accounting CPA services.
Yes, and that's my item. This is an ongoing contract that we have every year, and we use services, especially right now when we're closing the books. And sometimes when we get stuck in something, we check with this agency who have CPA certified people, and they provide advice. And like I said, this is actually usually when we close the books at this time. It's kind of like when you get legal advice. It's pretty similar, but we get accounting advice on how to best proceed with the closing.
Any questions? Motion to approve, please.
Motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel, Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, item 9.1, approval of a new classified management salary schedule.
My wheel keeps spinning on my internet. So we completed a compensation study to ensure classified management positions in the district are paid competitively, and have made the recommendation for the 5% increase, the same as the SRTA and CSCA units received, as well as the classified confidential, for the 21-22 salary schedule. Additionally, we recommend reclassifying range 1 maintenance operations facility supervisor and cafeteria supervisor, and range 3 human resources liaison and fiscal supervisor as reflected. And then, as Rosa mentioned, when we were studying the salary schedule, we noticed a major discrepancy between steps. So between some steps, it was as low as 1.5%, 2%, and then other steps as high as 6%. And there were no consistencies across the board. And so the average was a 4.5% increase between steps, which is less than what SRTA and CSEA have on their salary schedule, but we believed was a fair, consistent increase to implement.
I really appreciate you balancing that out. I've always looked at salary schedules, and I've always seen, upfront they have a huge increase, but later on, it's 1-2%, and then you end up having teachers and staff leaving, because the growth is not keeping up with costs. So thank you for leveling the rate of increase across the number of years.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, 9.2, approval of a new certificated management salary schedule effective July 1st, 2022.
Similarly, we completed a compensation study to ensure that certificated management positions are paid competitively and recommend the same 5% increase to the 21-22 salary schedule as reflected in the draft schedule. We have a recommendation to increase the number of days for our special ed coordinator, who is the only coordinator on a 200-day schedule, but it was not adequate for the position. So with the intent to increase that to 215, and elementary assistant principals from 195 to 205 days. The district also recommends reclassification for middle school assistant principal. When we did the increase to the elementary assistant principal days and looked at the salaries, we recognized that the middle school assistant principal was not paid enough to compensate for the extra duties that middle school administrators have above and beyond what elementary administrators typically have in their duties. And so that's the reclassification for middle school assistant principal. And again, the recommendation to provide the consistent increase of 4.5% between steps for all ranges.
Okay, questions or comments, or can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, moving on to 13.1, approve update to board bylaw 9250.
Thank you. We had this on as an item for information and discussion at our last board meeting. We ran it by legal, who gave us some updated language just to clarify that board trustees opting into district insurance would pay the same rate as our non-safety level employees. And wanted to let the board know that we're waiting to hear back from McSig about when the actual start date would begin for coverage, whether that could be October 1st or November 1st. And so we're waiting to hear back, but if this language is approved, we can go ahead and move forward with trustees who are interested in making an appointment, coming in, reviewing the plans with HR and choosing which plan coverage that they would like and making arrangements to make that payment for the following month. And we should hear back from McSig hopefully within the next day or so about what their start date would be.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Can I get a motion to approve?
So motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, 14.1 is our next regular board meeting, will be held on September 28th, 2022. 14.2 is suggested future board items. So two items. One is legal, looking at being able to make a commercial, and if so, how, I guess, information we can present on there, and then what would be if we are able to do it, or what the timeline would be to be able to accomplish that as well. Second thing, I know there was brief mention as far as learning loss and what's happening with students.
Yeah,
and I know,
I would like to see some type of presentation for an intervention programs and what systematic interventions we're gonna implement based on the iReady data when it does come out. But I'll be honest with you, I have no doubt it's gonna be significantly low.
In regard to that, I actually had a suggestion. It's sort of a long-term suggestion in terms of potentially doing a January board workshop day where we sit around and really talk about things like restructuring the school year for next year, and, you know, really looking at what major changes that we might want to implement.
Thank you, Sarah. I wholeheartedly, agree with that.
yeah, and I think moving along, I think one of the things that has been brought forward is the tutoring that we have. I think one thing a board member had mentioned to me was if there's a way to track which students are being accessed, because I know that sometimes the kids who have the most learning loss obviously don't always take advantage of those programs. So I don't know if it's possible to either have numbers, database, to understand if it's not working, how can we restructure it in it, and also I guess the impacts of staff shortages, because I think we have these ideas that we want to implement. TOSAs are usually a big part of that to help those students during the day, but obviously if those TOSA positions aren't getting filled because it's applying, I guess trying to figure out long-term wise what strategies we have as mentioned before.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in any type of online tutoring program whatsoever. I think any type of supplemental support, it should be in-house, in a classroom, taught by certificated teachers. If not affordable, then alternatives, but it has to be in-house.
Well, we can explore those in the discussion. Anything else from the board? Okay. We're right before 7. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 6:57?
Motion to adjourn.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Neil Patel,
Aye, aye, Captain.
Ms. Alvariano,
Aye.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you, everybody.